Hey y'all, Simply Zoological here, and welcome back to the channel. But either way, thank you all for joining me for today's episode of Pangea Wildlife Park, our very first park in Prehistoric Kingdom, which is a brand new game I brought to the channel just a few weeks ago. But enough about that, let's get into what we're doing today. So as you can tell, we're building a habitat for a pair of Ankys. I found the inspiration for the terrain itself off a photo somewhere in my Sea of Planet Zoo Pinterest pins. The photo showed a raised path with a small stream as a barrier and a raised hill over the middle of the stream. So that's all we were doing here, with a bit of terrain work. And now with some rock work added in, before I get much further, I do want to apologize for any choppy footage in this video. As I was building this, my mouse was giving me some attitude, and it would either misclick or just not click at all, which would then result in me having to click 4 to 5 times to pan the camera up, down, left, or right. I do think I was able to edit most of that out, but if any of that footage is left, I do apologize. But now back to the build. As you can see, I have added in a rock wall for the back barrier, and I do go in off camera and add more rocks to break up the pattern. And now you can see that we're working on the hill, and you can see here my mouse giving me attitude. So for the hill, I added in the same rocks that I used for the rock wall, sunk them down, tilted them back, and just played around with the terrain as best I could. And I will say, the terrain tool in this game versus Planet Zoo is, in my opinion, so much better. The terrain moves easier, it's not as hard to get it to line up to do what you want. You can move it around and you can mess with it around the water, and you don't have to worry about not being able to put the water back in. I just love it. But here you can see we have now moved on to the raised path. So for those of you who may not know, in a Prehistoric Kingdom, your guests can walk on modular pieces as long as there's a path to them. So for the raised path, that's what I used, was the modular floor piece, and I just copied it all along the habitat lengthwise. And you can see here I'm stretching the path out to make the path line up to the raised viewing area, so that way the guests can actually walk on it. And you will see in the video and in the end cinematics that the guests do use this and go back and forth with ease. And then here you can see I'm playing around with what kind of flooring I wanted, but I do just settle on the concrete or the plaster, and I recolor it to black. And then I'll stretch this piece to make it fit into the rocks. And then we're gonna go in with some more rocks underneath this raised path. And here I again do the same thing that I did with the back rock wall, use the same rock, copied it multiple times, and then go in and add more rocks to help break up the pattern. And now you can see I'm adding in some, I think it's pronounced basalt, I'm not exactly sure, but adding that in all along the back of the rock wall and underneath the raised path, just to give some more added interest. And now I'm working on adding in their feeder. So in Planet Zoo, you can place a path, place the enrichment item, and the terrain doesn't move as bad. When I was placing this feeder, it was making the entire terrain flat, as it does in Planet Zoo. And so I decided, well, what if I tried the trick that you can use in Planet Zoo, and it worked, and then I forgot how to delete the path. But we eventually got it all figured out. And you can see me struggling just a second ago with trying to figure out where the heck I needed to be to place the plants. because this game is still very new to me and I have taken a 2-week hiatus from this game to play Planet Zoo, I got back in and completely forgot everything that I had learned over the last 2 weeks that I had been playing this game. But anyways, we got it all figured out, and now it's time for the backstage building. So for this building, I decided that I wanted to have 2 separate pens, one for each of the Ankies to be able to be housed in. So if there's ever one that's sick or hurt and needs to be put away to where the other one can't get to it, that can be done so with this building. And that's what I'm going to try and carry out through the entirety of this park, is making sure that each dinosaur or prehistoric animal that we have in this park will have their own pen. And here you can see I'm now working on the gate for the Ankies to get from their backstage building into their habitat, or into their habitat to the backstage building. And I struggled with this a little bit. I mainly struggled with the design. I wasn't sure if I originally was going to try and make a V sort of styled gate, but with the metal poles, but then I decided against it. And again, you'll see all that here in just a second. But here you can see I'm just trying to get the base of it down using the female Anky, because she is the larger of the two, to get the sizing correct and make sure she can go in and out. And then here you can see I'm using the pole, sizing it down, angling it to try and make that V shape. And then as I stretch the poles upwards, or horizontally, I guess, or vertically, I guess you could say, it looked to me as if the poles were getting thicker as well, and I didn't like that. So then I thought, what if I have a singular gate turn it into 2 gates that can open either, that can be closed and opened from either side. But again, decided against that and just went for a plain solid gate that can slide. And I do go in, once I get all these poles situated how I want them, I go in, copy it into the back here, and then add the gates in to make it one longer gate for it to slide. And then we're going to push those walls back and delete some rocks to get so I'll have to redo the rock work here in a bit. But currently you can see I am having to work on the track for this gate. Because again, I want this gate to be powered by a switch or by electricity. So there will be a track that will be turned on or off depending if the staff need it to be. And I don't know what piece this is. Looks like it's industrial cap is what it is. It's a prop piece that I use as the wheel. And then I had to make sure that the Anky could actually get in. And this was my first time actually using this panel. I realized she could, and everything was fine and dandy. So it was time to work on the actual pins themselves within their backstage building. So here, taking that same gate, copying the tallest horizontal beam over, or vertical, and then making it longer horizontally, and then taking this wall and putting it into the track. And then going to copy this to the other side, copy the walls over, and then I realized that the gate couldn't move because the walls were in the way. So I had to move the gates back, and everything was perfectly fine and dandy. And now it's time for some foliage work. And I'm very sorry. I am, again, still very new to this game, still learning the foliage and all that. So I have no idea what foliage I'm using. All I know is there are bushes and ferns, ground coverage. I think most of it is the boreal forest and some coastal plants. But anyways, after we get all of this foliage work in, it will be time for some quick terrain work off camera, obviously, and then into the cinematics. But that's really all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a short one. I know I talked a lot. I do think I am currently coming down with a cold or something, so I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little funky or if it sounds off for right now. I do also want to note that I am currently, as the time I'm recording this, I am currently getting ready to go on a 2-month vacation. So I am scheduling all of these videos way far in advance, so that way y'all will still have some content to watch while I am gone. So again, I am sorry if I miss any comments or anything that y'all message and ask me. I will do my best to stay up to date with it all, but I cannot promise anything. I do want to note real quick that these poles, I figured Ankies are relatively similar to rhinos, right? So I figured, well, why not do what a lot of zoos do for rhinos and add these concrete poles that could be used as a double barrier. Because I did realize that the Ankies could obviously walk right up to the guests and completely knock them out with their tails. On accident, I would hope, but you never know. So just making this double barrier so that way the guests nor the Ankies can get too close to one another, but still be viewable from a safe distance. But anyways, that's really all I have for y'all today. I hope you leave a like, a subscribe, all of that good YouTube stuff, and I will talk to y'all in the next one. Enjoy the cinematics. Bye.